Hello everyone, we continue on with our Tekken 8 preparation, so welcome to our Law Primer. Like Paul, Law dates back to Tekken 1, and he is of course the game's resident Bruce Lee inspired character. He's fast with a lot of good generic tools as well as his own unique stance, behind which are locked some powerful moves. However, this stance has gotten easier in Tekken 8, so now is a great time to pick him up. As with our other primers, this video should give you a good quick rundown on the character to jumpstart your learning and get you playing some matches. We will keep the technical lingo to a minimum, but you should still have some knowledge on basic standardized Tekken terms, especially notations and terms for various game mechanics. In other words, this guide is meant for beginners, but you should already know a little bit about the game, just not necessarily the character. If you are brand new to Tekken, check out the resource links in the video description below. I've included several, including a system basics guide that operates as a tutorial for the whole game, since Tekken doesn't really have that built in. To me, I think it's incredibly important to go over that before trying to tackle character specific guides. But enough of all that, let's begin. Law is a really good character to learn fundamentals because he's based around basic tools. His jabs are fantastic, both 1-2-2 and 2-2 are some of the best in the game because that last hit is mid, has good range, has good tracking, and it has a couple of enders for additional cover. The enders will actually combo anyway if the poke hits counter hit. Speaking of, his 1-2-3 is a safe knockdown splatting counter hit string, very dangerous at the wall. He has a generic down forward 1, so a very safe mid poke that allows him to continue pressure. He also has a generic down forward 4, which is the same speed as down forward 1, still safe but has more range. He has a generic down forward 2, which is a safe mid launcher, very abusable, and he has a generic toe kick. If you're willing to take some risk, some of these can become even scarier because they have a flip launcher built into them. In fact, if you hit down forward 4 or the toe kick on counter hit, the flip will combo. But things don't end there, of course. Your primary harass poke is actually down back 3, one of the best in the game. It's quick, decent damage, and gives great advantage on hit. If you want a little more damage, you have down 4-3. Just note it's riskier and won't give you the same kind of pressure situation on hit. His knockdown low threat is the slide, done as full crouch down forward 3. Practice doing that motion because you want it to look nearly undetectable. However, he does have a while standing 4 and while standing 1 as safe mids to mix with it, or you can go for broke with a while standing 2. Either way, you want to force that quick defensive decision since those are easier to predict. That's really it for lows, which doesn't seem like much, but you'd be surprised how far down back 3 abuse can take you. For mids, you have a bunch of safe stuff to work with. We mentioned down forward 1, down forward 2, and down forward 4, but also consider back 1, back 2, back 4, forward 1+2, forward 3+4, forward 2, and his running 3. You'll notice some of these have strings you can work with. So for example, you'll see back 1-2 a lot, which although it isn't safe, it is a natural combo. And if you think you hit a counter hit, you can finish the string on reaction. You will take on additional risk using the strings, but that's just how Tekken works. However, things like forward 1+2 and running 3 are just straight up pressure tools, and forward 2 you can always confirm so you don't have to commit to the ender. So lastly, a little bit of a twist in an otherwise simple game plan, his stance called DSS. We can't go over every little detail of it, but we can give you the basics. It can be done manually or transition from certain moves. Transitions have 2 varieties. Punch transitions require a single back forward, and kick transitions require that and an additional forward input after. You cannot mash that. It takes timing and thus practice. It is certainly the primary barrier to using the stance effectively since his best transitions are from kicks, hence its power. While standing forward DSS is easily the hardest, but also the best in terms of utility. For example, if while standing forward hits counter hit, you'll find many of the faster DSS moves will combo if your transition is fast enough. Similarly, on block, these can beat out even jabs. The while standing forward transition just has to be perfect, so those are obviously tough to do. 4-3 DSS is fairly strong as well, and you'll see it a lot in juggles. We recommend to focus on while standing forward DSS for your neutral game and 4-3 DSS for juggles, but there are a lot of other strings that can transition as well. Also, don't be afraid to go into DSS manually in the neutral. It has a fast startup, and moves like DSS 2 and DSS forward 4 are very good neutral tools. If done fast enough, your opponent should not be able to see the startup of the stance, although you can do nothing from stance and play mental games with the shimmy animation. There's also a low from the stance and 2 command grabs, so you do have some mix-up potential there. The idea though is still to catch people pressing buttons and to enhance your juggles, so definitely focus on those more so. Law has a lot of defensive tools to work with. To start, he's a great block punisher. His 1-1-2 jab punish is above average, only slightly slower is 4-3, only a little slower than that is 3-4, so you can start splatting and knocking down very early. Then he can start launching at 14 frames with 3+4-4, which not all characters can do. After that, you have both down forward 2 and hop kick for traditional launchers. In crouch, you have while standing 4 as a quick punish, then comes while standing 1-2, which again gives you a knockdown or splat, then a standard launch with while standing 2. All of these can be very good for whiff punishing, although the go-to for whiffs is certainly 3+4-4. For counter hits and crushes, again tons to choose from since he's a very fast character. For low crushing, you have the standard hop kick, otherwise you can opt for a safe option like forward 3+4, although that will only launch on counter hit. For high crushes, you can either use your pokes like toe kick, down 1, or down forward 3+4. However, if you really want to go for broke, down 2 is of course a high crush, and if it hits counter hit, down 2-3 will launch. Speaking of, he's certainly an interrupt beast. In addition to that, he has the standard magic 4, which will still combo if you do 4-3, but remember the tools we already mentioned, namely forward 1+2, forward 3+4, and DSS2, all of which are counter hit launchers. Recall 1-2-3 and back 1-2-2 are counter hit combos, and down 1-3 is also a counter hit combo. It's really common to use 2-2 in neutral, and if you nab that second hit, let loose with one of the enders. It may not seem like a long list, but those fast options in particular can cause nightmares. Lastly, his parry, done as back 1+3 or back 2+4. It parries mid or high punches and kicks. It does not have a built-in response. Instead, you have to hit back forward, which will cancel to DSS, and then you can land some of your fast options there. The best one typically being DSS 1-4. Since the parry activates a lot quicker than an attack, it gives you yet another defensive option. Okay, final thoughts. First, an honorable mention to his tracking. Back 4 is one of the best homing tools in the game because it's a low-hitting mid that is insanely fast. It's also safe on block. He also has a big damage homing tool with back 3, which can leave him back turn. Which on that note, he does have some back turn stuff. We're not going to go too far into that because it's a bit of an intermediate topic, but note some of the tools that can get you there, like both back 4 and back 3, but also 2 back 2. He has a couple of unique back turn options, including a low launcher. These can be very tough to use, which is why we won't do a deep dive, but know that they're there and feel free to mess around with them. Similarly, we should also mention all the various ways you can get to crouch in order to bring in the slide mix-up. He has a bunch of things that will leave him in crouch, which makes the slide easier to do quickly afterwards. So think toe kick, crouch jab, down 1, and even something like up forward 3. Up forward 3 is particularly fun because it does have a built-in safe mid launcher, so you can play some interesting timing mind games there. Forward 1+2 is also a standard tool for this, since doing forward 1+2 down leaves you in crouch. His grab game is fairly decent too. You have a couple of 1+2 breaks, one of which happens to be a full launcher. He has the 2 DSS grabs, and then he also has a weird looking run-up grab that is a 1 break. You can definitely catch some grabs with Law if you place them well. Otherwise, we'll skip over juggles as usual, but check out the video description below for a link to some sample combos. So the last thing to mention is his rage drive. It's actually on the weaker side of the spectrum for rage drive since it's a slow-ish low. It is safe on block, but if they feel it coming, it can get parried pretty easily. They did buff it recently so that you can do it from DSS now. That version is actually faster and even allows some juggle potential, which is fun. Either way, it's not a make or break tool, but it's good to know that it's there. This brings us to the end of the primer. I'm hoping this information was succinct and helpful for getting a jump on the character, but feedback is always welcome. Be mindful that in-depth discussion for game plans and move attributes will be saved for intermediate guides, although since we have the more robust basics guides already for Tekken 7, true intermediate guides will be something to look out for with Tekken 8. Lastly, big thanks to our patrons. You guys are the best and that support means more than you know. But to everyone, stay safe and we'll see you next time.